The equation. The morning light had just begun to filter through the windows of Everdale High, casting long slants of gold across the courtyard, where students lazily congregated in small clusters. A gentle breeze stirred fallen leaves against the iron benches as teenagers scrolled on their phones, swapped jokes, and eased into the start of a new school week. The hum of idle chatter floated above it all, soft and familiar. From the main building's double doors emerged Meredith Klein, the head of the mathematics department, a woman who walked with deliberate confidence and held herself with the precision of a pendulum. 30 years of chalk, proofs, and honors lined her resume like stripes on a uniform. She wore a slate blue blazer and sensible pumps, and in her left hand she carried a crisp sheet of papyrus single, glaringly white page that seemed to reflect more than just light. With practice flair, she made her way to the central bulletin board near the courtyard's edge and pinned the page dead center. Students nearby glanced over, curiosity piqued. A few steps closer. Meredith turned on her heel and clapped her hands once, her voice slicing through the noise. "Attention, all seekers of truth and torment," she said, lips curled in a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "This isn't just any math problem. It's a challenge for those brave enough to think beyond the edges of the textbook." Heads turned. Cell phones were raised. More students gathered as eyes scanned the board. The problem she'd posted was brutal. A multivariable triple integral laden with nonlinear terms, obscure boundary conditions, and transformations that would make a graduate student sweat. Meredith had spent the weekend fine-tuning it, ensuring no one, not even her best students, would find a clear path forward. "Solve it before Friday," she added, brushing imaginary lint off her sleeve. "And I'll personally treat you to an off-campus pizza lunch. Real pizza, with real cheese." Laughter broke out. The tone was lighthearted, but the message was clear. This was about hierarchy, about performance. And no one played that game better than Meredith Klein. As she turned to leave, someone caught her eye. Across the courtyard, near a storm drain, a woman in a faded gray custodial uniform was wringing out a mop bucket. Her back was slightly bent, her movements efficient and quiet. Her name tag read Naomi Fields. Hired 3 weeks earlier, she barely registered to most students or facultia fixture more than a person. But now Naomi had stopped. She wasn't mopping. She was staring directly at the board. Not glancing. Staring. Calculating. Meredith raised an eyebrow. "Well," she said, voice tinged with faux amusement and pitched loud enough to carry. "Even our cleaning staff seems intrigued." A few students snickered. Naomi didn't move. She simply studied the board. Her hand still rested on the mop handle, but her eyes were locked in deep focus. Meredith's smile sharpened. "Oh, don't tell me," she added with feigned delight. "You want to take a stab at it, too?" Another round of chuckles. Naomi remained silent, her expression unreadable, though something in her jaw had stiffened slightly, as if anchoring herself to memory. To history. Meredith turned away, heels clicking confidently, the sound bouncing between concrete walls. Back by the drain, Naomi's grip on the mop tightened not in anger, but in resistance, in remembrance. She had seen that equation before. She knew it. Not vaguely. Not maybe. She knew it the way you remember a song you wrote yourself. And so, as lunch hours spilled across the courtyard and students passed the board with squints and scoffs, Naomi watched in silence. She moved between hallways with a mop and a bucket, invisible to most, but never fully detached. She remembered equations, theorems, chalk on her fingers, not bleach. She remembered late nights under buzzing light bulbs with notebooks filled edge to edge before life unraveled. It had been years, but some knowledge doesn't fade. The moment came subtly. A lanky senior with a loud laugh swaggered past the board, pointing as he told his friends. Even the nerds tapped out. "Guess no one's smarter than MS. Klein." More laughter. Naomi, a few steps away, paused. Then she turned. She approached the board slowly. A few students noticed, elbowing each other. "What's she doing?" Naomi didn't hesitate. She reached into the pocket of her faded uniform, and pulled out a piece of chalk white, worn, half-used. She had pocketed it weeks ago without realizing why. Now she knew. As she raised the chalk to the board, time seemed to fold inward. Just then, Meredith stepped out of the building, coffee in hand, prepared to smirk at a day's worth of failed attempts. But what she saw stopped her mid-step. There was Naomi Field's hand poised, chalk touching the board. Meredith's voice pierced the courtyard. "Excuse me, what exactly are you doing?" Naomi didn't turn. "I'd like a try," she said quietly. Meredith's voice snapped with disbelief. "This is advanced integral modeling, not mops and margins." Some students laughed, but it was hollow now, tinged with uncertainty. Naomi, unfazed, began to write. Silence fell, not the ordinary kind, but the kind that breathes. Her hand moved with practiced fluidity. Not rushed, not tentative. Each stroke confident, each step methodical. Lines unfurled across the board like verses of a forgotten poem. Phones came out. Students leaned in. Even the ones who didn't care about math couldn't look away. Meredith stood rigid, eyes wide, watching as Naomi dismantled her impossible equation with terrifying grace. There were no pauses, no errors, just clarity. Elegance. By the time Naomi placed the final mark, the courtyard was frozen. A junior whispered she solved it. Meredith stepped forward, peering at the work. Her mouth opened, then closed again. The solution was correct. And not only correct, it used an obscure contraction method she'd seen once in an old academic paper from Ukraine, one she had never managed to fully grasp herself. This woman, this janitor, had mastered it. Naomi turned. "It's solvable," she said. "You just have to look at it differently." And just like that, the hierarchy cracked. The students weren't looking at Meredith anymore. They were looking at Naomi. Principal Henry Caldwell arrived minutes later, summoned by the murmurs. A calm man with gray hair and a reputation for fairness. He took one look at the board, then at Naomi. "You solved this?" he asked, not with disbelief, but with curiosity. "Yes," Naomi answered. "And your background?" "I was accepted to a state university for mathematics at 17, she said. "Took second in the state Olympiad. I had a scholarship, but my mother got sick. I left before classes started. I've been working ever since." Henry nodded slowly. "Well," he said, "we've been looking for someone to advise the math club. And I believe you've just earned a stronger title than janitor. Would you be interested?" Naomi's hands were still coated with chalk dust. She looked at them, then back at him. "I'd like that," she said. The students erupted not in cheers, but in quiet awe, a reverent hush of realization. That night, long after the hallways had emptied, Naomi stood alone outside the faculty lounge. A flyer had just gone up. Math Club returns. Led by MS. Naomi Fields. Her name. Clear. Printed. Not whispered. She touched the corner of the page gently, as if it might dissolve under her fingers. Principal Caldwell approached quietly, holding a manila folder. "Scholarship paperwork," he said. "Letters of recommendation. Full tuition, if you want to go back." Naomi stared at it. "I told myself once," she said, "I'd find a way back. But life doesn't wait for dreams." "Then let's stop waiting," he replied. As he left, Meredith Klein approached slowly from down the hall, holding a stack of old math journals. "I stayed late," Naomi said softly. "I know," Meredith replied. "These are from the archives. I never fully understood some of the methods you used. If you're open to it, maybe we could go through them together." Naomi looked at the journals, then at Meredith. "I'm willing." Meredith nodded, a faint smile on her lips. "I hope you'll come a math club," Naomi added. "I just might." And as the building darkened, Naomi returned to a quiet classroom. Not to mop, to write. For herself, for the girl she used to be, and for the equation that finally brought her home.